Hello, this is Dr. Jen, the Intuitive Phoenix, ready to share a story of why I believe it is so important that we be ourselves. Being ourselves can change the world, it can change our life. It can be the way we transform everything that we experience. Now, some of you may know that June is Pride Month, a month to celebrate the LGBTQIA+. I think I got all the letters, the community. And it's a month that, to be honest, I've had mixed feelings about. And I'm going to get a little personal here. And I decided to do this because in doing some writing recently, I realized that if I was having these feelings, other people were as well. And that when we can come together in shared experiences, shared feelings, that's when we can learn to support each other, even those who may think differently or have different beliefs in other areas of our life. If we can find common ground when we express who we truly are, it can bring us together. So, as I was saying, I have mixed feelings around Pride Month. I lived essentially as a straight woman for almost the first 30 years of my life. I did. And I took notes, and I wrote this the other day, and I have it because this is a bit of an emotional post. Um, Throughout high school, I did have boyfriends and did think that I had met the one, that I was going to marry this man one day, until I found him cheating on me with a friend of ours. And it broke me open. But one of the things that I discovered in the breaking open was that I viewed my life and the world differently. Less black and white, less right and wrong, more shades of gray. And that was necessary because I thought I had been living life right. I thought I had been doing the right things in my relationship. And what I came to realize is that I was not living truly myself. And yet, it still surprised me a couple of years later when I found myself attracted to a woman. I hadn't expected that at all, and I literally ran. Of course, I did come back, but I literally ran away the first time. And that woman became my first girlfriend. And as you can imagine, dating women changed the course of my relationships, both with family, with friends, with coworkers. Though some chose to stay, some didn't. Some who stayed didn't have much to say, but you could see it on their faces at times that there's a lot of uncertainty, not really knowing what to say or do. And then there were others who voiced their opinions, and one that stood out to me pretty clearly when this friend said, "I love you. You are a friend of mine. You're an important friend of mine, and you're going to hell someday." That was their belief, that I was going to hell someday. And it was spoken pretty matter-of-factly. So after my first girlfriend and I broke up, Pride events were an opportunity for me to get out and meet new people, potentially people like me. But then as someone who had lived almost 30 years of their life in heterosexual relationships, it felt odd to be out in public saying, "I'm not straight," because I didn't really have a label for what I was or what I was experiencing. And imagine my surprise when some women that I might be interested in dating or getting to know didn't want to get to know me because I had relationships with men. I had some lesbians and other members of the gay community say bisexuality didn't exist, that I couldn't be attracted to both men and women. And that, of course, as the years have continued, well, as I've continued to live life, more and more labels have come into play when we're talking about gender, when we're talking about sexuality. And sometimes I find it really confusing. I don't know if it helps. Sometimes I think labels can define us in a way that's limiting versus opening opportunities for us to get to know each other as the unique individuals that we are. And then other people find some comfort and some clarity and confidence in having labels. So good or bad, I don't know. My feeling at this point is if it helps you to live a loving, authentic life, then great. If it's somehow limiting you, then toss it out. At least that's the way I've gone about doing it. Because at this point in my life, the way that I'm choosing to live is with a label of me, knowing that that label, or what me is, how I express me, can change in any moment, can change every day. Who I was a week ago is not who I am today. Who I was 5 years ago is not who I am today. We are constantly evolving and changing and learning and growing and letting go of stuff that no longer supports us. So when we interact with each other, we almost have to keep getting to know each other, just like we keep getting to know ourselves. June's also the month I married my wife, that I told her I love you and I choose you, and shared that with 60 plus other people in the most amazing mountain setting. It's also the month that reminds me that I didn't have any biological family at my wedding. Some because of circumstances that weren't in their control, and others who consciously chose not to come because they could not support me saying I love you to the woman I married. June is also a month, one of the reasons it's Pride Month is because it commemorates the Stonewall riots in 1969. This year is the 50th anniversary. And it's a time when people in the gay community stood up to abuse, stood up to the way they were being treated, specifically at that point by the police department. And it started a movement. So it's a month that I'm reminded to be grateful for those who came before me, who stood up to abuses, who spoke out to abuses, who were willing to be visible, to be seen, to be heard. They certainly have set a path for me to follow of being seen and being heard for who I am, whatever that might look like. And why am I sharing this with you? I'm sharing this with you because I believe it is more important than ever for us to get to know ourselves as individuals. Me getting to know me. A lot of the clients that I work with, when I say, what do you want from life? What do you want to be experiencing in life? What do you want to create? They don't know. In so many cases, we have spent so much of our life meeting other people's expectations, following through on what we were raised to do or taught to do, that we don't even always know what we truly want, what we truly want to experience. And I believe that in getting to know ourselves as individuals, we can then truly get to know others. And we can find ways to connect and to communicate and to find common ground in such a state of divisiveness. We're not either or. We're not one thing or another. A belief doesn't define me and disconnect me from others unless I choose for it to. Because at any point, there is something that we can find in common with those in our communities. Even if on the surface, we may not agree about some of the key debates that might be going on in politics these days. So take the time. I'm sharing this. Take the time. I know it's changed my life to get to know me. Get to know what you love. Get to know what brings you joy. Get to know what's important to you. Because when you know those things, you can move forward in your life to be, to do, to have what's important to you. And when you know those things, you can connect to those things easier. You can connect to those people that you can come together with. And of course, in getting to know ourselves, it's also a time to get to like ourselves, to love ourselves for who we are, and not for who others want us to be, or for who it would be more comfortable for us to be. So thank you for watching this. If you've watched this, whether it's as the live, thank you, Tamala, for posting your comments, thanking me for sharing and wishing me a happy anniversary. I appreciate that. And if something in this resonates with you, feel free to comment, feel free to ask questions, whether it's live or later. I will respond. I will get back to you. Because as I said, when we take the time to know ourselves, to like ourselves, to love ourselves, we not only change our life, we change the world. And if you're ready to change the world and you want support doing that, contact me. Post below. Because one of the things that I've found is when we connect to others, we can change the world easier. All right. I'm sending health and love and ease in your transformation until we connect again. I'll talk to you soon.